All right.
Excellent.
Perfect. Okay, so we'd like to thank our sponsors. So our platinum sponsor this year was Stryker. Thank you very much to Stryker. Our gold sponsors were Depew Synthes and Zimmer Biomet, and our silver sponsor for the year was Smith & Nephew. So having the sponsorship is extremely important for us to be able to keep the lights on, to be able to continue moving forward in our quest. So we're very thankful to our sponsors. And of course, we will continue requesting sponsorship from our sponsors for every year to come. Okay, so Matt is up.
Thank you. So I'd like to briefly go over some of the history and membership statistics. My name is Matt Schmitz. As many of us know, the IODA was established in 2019 by Jenny Green and was inspired by some of the folks you see on this slide. And the idea behind it was to advance the inclusion of women and underrepresented minorities in orthopedic surgery. And we first met at international meetings to discuss the relevant countries' diversity strategies. If we go to the next slide, in 2020, in 2020, there was 45 founding members here from 30 nations. And now you can see that as of in 2021 was when we set forth with our board of directors and vision and mission statement, registered as a non-for-profit, so really formalized. Next slide. And then as of just a few weeks ago, now over 1,600 global members. So you can see the breakdown between the different regions here. So really excited about the amount of growth that we've had in the last 3 short years. And so Jenny can't join us today because she is in Samoa teaching, where it's, I think, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And so I'm going to go over some of her slides as the achievements over the last couple of years as the past president. Thankful to Jenny for putting these slides together. Again, we went over some of this. So what you can see, one of the highlights is that of our founding members included some presidents of National Orthopedic Associations. So being associated with people that on a large scale can affect change within their various regions or various countries. Next, as this is our board of directors, which we'll hear from almost all of us today. That includes not only the presidential line and secretary, treasurer, training representative next, but also regional representatives from each of the regions. And this is really key in getting the message out, but also coordinated efforts between the different regions because there are obviously different needs, different hurdles to overcome based on what the region is. Next. And so our vision is a global orthopedic culture in which everyone can thrive, and our mission is to champion diversity, equity, and inclusion in orthopedics worldwide. One of the big things that we've done over the past couple of years is the concept of the IODA Charter, which is a commitment to diversity. So in signing this, the companies organizations are committing to not only the idea of increasing or improving diversity, inclusion, and belonging, but also tracking it. And so if we go to the next slide, this is an active commitment from various national organizations that you can see here. This is a not just in words, but a commitment, meaning that folks are actually going to be tracking these things. And you can see international societies, major journals, et cetera, have joined us on this mission, committing to the charter. Now over 40 signees. Next. And so again, this is for either the organization or the company. They're going to develop a strategic plan and then track that over time. And so again, not just passive action, but actually being actively involved in improving diversity within their different spaces, whether it's on a national stage or company, et cetera. Next. Again, we kind of went over this. We're now over 1,600 members. Including some what I call big players around the world. So some leaders from national organizations that shows the commitment to IODA, and it's been greater than 20%, 25% increase annual, which we're very excited about. Next slide. This again highlights some of the leaders from the different organizations, international societies, major journals, and also regional as well. These are some of the presidents that have joined up. Go ahead, next slide. So we encourage folks to follow us on social media, on your favorite platform. We're on all of the platforms. Go ahead to the next slide. And we have an active team that's really helping amplify our message. And so over the last 12 months, increased to nearly 4,000 unique users for our website traffic, including an increase over the last month. Go to the next slide. If we look at some of our other accomplishments, include over 50 board and symposia presentations. Again, we're asking board members, our members, when they are speaking at these international events, to champion IODA and our mission. And so you can see we've been literally around the world giving lectures, symposia, and spreading the message about orthopedic diversity. Next slide. We also have, you can't do everything in person. In today's day and age, we're actually more effective in doing things via asynchronous learning or webinar programs. And so we've had a number of different webinars that can then be watched in real time at the time of the, or downloaded and watched later and participated in later. Next slide. And so we've included some of these here. Go to the next one. Next. Next. And what the latest has been is the concept of a journal club. So being able to hold a virtual journal club with people from at least regional, right? Because if you want to do it on a time frame, it's very difficult to set it up at a time here on the West Coast of the United States that works in Australia or Samoa, but we can do it where essentially North and South America can participate in a journal club together, and then Europe can participate in a journal club together. And so look for more of these coming down the road as we increase our ability to participate in these via virtual platforms. And so we've got some coming up as well. One of the other exciting things that we are elated to announce is that we entered into a 3-year partnership with the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons. We were competitively selected to partner with their diversity advisory board. And so last year at the annual meeting for the AAOS, we had a breakfast that was sold out. This was picture taken from that breakfast where we have the Academy leadership, including some of your board members from IODA, but the 3 consecutive presidents from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons. So excited to have them. We're in talks this year of having a similar breakfast. And so just starting those conversations for the meeting that is in the spring of this year, actually in San Diego. Next slide, please. Very excited about the work that Samantha has done with our quarterly newsletter. And so what you can see here is that the number of the percent rate open above 50% is unheard of when you look at some of your newsletters that go out to a large swath of people. So this has been successful in getting the message out. And we thank all the people for their contributions to the newsletter. Next slide, please. And then the website hosts a variety of different resources. That's where we can be a library for our podcasts, videos, and webinars. We're also putting articles, diversity-related articles on there. And so thank you to our members for helping highlight those. But our website, again, we want that to be a place that people can go to for diversity resources. Next slide. So what's next? This year, we're excited to get together and really formalize a mentorship program, an international mentorship program, continue with our webinars and symposia and collaboration. And as many of you have seen, we asked for some basic details regarding our members' practices and what they're comfortable speaking on, because we are developing a diversity speaker list where people can potentially go to that list and say, I need a spine surgeon from X region that looks like X, and we can pull it up. Well, here's four options for you. And so we're really working on refining that. Next slide. Again, we ask people to put the message out. IODA membership is free, and so we welcome surgeons, trainees, researchers, folks from industry. And so whenever you're at a meeting, whenever you are speaking about the good things IODA does, feel free to share this QR code and continue to increase our membership. And remember, donations are also very welcome as well. Next. So one of the things that we're going to be doing this next year is that when we started with our formalized board in 2021 is that we developed a strategic plan, and we were very cognizant of that. And so, this was the 2022 to 2024 strategic plan. We had specific goals. Next slide. And we've been working towards those and making key progress on the strategic goals. And so we assess this at each of our meetings, increasing the membership, increasing our sponsorship, adoption of the charter, developing a mentoring committee. Next slide. And so the key progress, again, as Marie mentioned, thank you to our sponsors. Without them, we would not be able to function as a group. They help us do some of our programming, in addition to all of the things that you see with regards to putting out newsletters, et cetera. And so we want to continue to focus on that. Next slide. Again, our sponsorship and partnerships as witnessed, that was one of our strategic goals that we've been working on. Next slide. Next slide. The charter that we talked about was one of the strategic goals. Next slide. And so over the last couple of years, having members speak at sessions across the world, literally, on DEI efforts and education and continued membership growth, we've been working on those those strategic goals. Next slide. And so understanding what the challenges are specific to different regions and our members specifically. And so we are collecting this data so that we can help share better practices between regions and really break down some of the barriers, which was one of our strategic goals. Next slide. Increasing the symposia. So you can see we're again trying to increase this nationally and internationally. Next. And increasing the resources that I mentioned earlier are hosted on our website. Next slide. And again, with webinars, each of these were specifically sought out, and so being able to focus on these and make sure we delivered 2 webinars so far in 2024, with more in the plans. 4 were delivered in 2023, increasing our journal clubs, and have another webinar scheduled later this year. Next slide. And then this is the social media follows. So TikTok is slow, but we are going to start working on that as well. For some of our members and users that are more prone to that method of social media. But you can see here over 2,000 Facebook followers, 3,000 Instagram followers, and 33,000 views on YouTube. So this was as of about a month and a half ago. Next slide. And again, we've been highlighting some of our META members, trying to look at some of the national and international days for celebration, and then highlighting our charter signatories as well. Next slide. And with that, I'll turn it over to Deb Eastwood as our second vice president to go over her portion of the presentation.
Thanks, Matt. Really not much else I want to highlight here other than all the good work that is carrying on. We've managed to have some scholarships which we've awarded. We are encouraging a lot of volunteer input into our various committees, and really, if anyone wants to be involved in IODA, please do let us know, and we'd like to encourage you to take part. Many of the tasks are not onerous, and there is certainly some truth in the more hands there are, it makes light work, doesn't it? So I think it's a great way of interacting and building up some relationships and getting to know people. So if you are keen, do get involved, do let us know. Next slide, please. Over to you, Bezowit.
Hi everyone, and can you see my video? Is it on?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Great. Thank you and welcome, and congratulations everyone on the magnificent job. So back here in Africa, we've been trying to create a platform where residents and junior surgeons could learn from experienced maybe subspecialty surgeons all over the world through a virtual platform. So with that, we first started with a survey which was developed to see what the African continent really expects IODA to do, or what kind of activities would be most beneficial for the members in Africa. So far, well, by the time this slide was prepared, it was at 74 responses, but now we're close to 90. But unfortunately, majority of the survey was filled from members from Ethiopia, so it was a bit hard to draw any conclusions from it as to what East Africa would really need. I don't think it would be really that representative of everyone else in East Africa, because we talked to people from Malawi, Somalia, Sudan, and Tanzania, Kenya, and Zimbabwe. So, but we also had a new interest to join the IODA signatories from the Kenya Orthopedic Association, which was a very good start. And we have also tried to contact potential partners such as Medal. Dr. Marie also had a part in this. We tried to contact people from Medal, but I don't think we got like feedback from them. So I think it would have made our virtual teaching proceedings much better in terms of preparing certificates and all of that. But I think we can still continue our education even without partners, if it has to come to that. So the limitations we've seen so far with our efforts to have everyone on board within East Africa is, the first one is slow survey responses. We didn't really contact the members individually. We sent out invitations to association members and also leaders from the orthopedic associations in those African countryside that I just mentioned earlier. So there was a gap in communication, I believe. But I think if one good way to address all the members individually is to send a mass email to all of our African members, or just East African members to begin with. But that was one of the limitations we've had. And the other one was lack of timely response from partners such as Medal. But I think we can still continue our efforts even with these limitations in place. So those are the potential solutions we had. So I think, I still believe IODA's efforts in Africa would be most beneficial to our members if we could focus on expanding education, because there is a lot of resource limitation in the continent, but we should still begin working from the region we're most familiar with, which is East Africa, and then we can increase the caliber of our work. But so far, this has been our work in East Africa.
Thank you, Bezuit. Okay, so I'm going to just chat about the Asia specific region for Margaret. She's traveling at the moment. So this is one of the most representative regions, just snubbed by the North American region, but it is very diverse with different ethnicities, different cultures, and different religions that make up the Asia Pacific region. So there are some well-established societies that are promoting diversity, and they have regular events like the Owl Group in Australia and the Lions in New Zealand. However, there are regions that do not have the same kind of representation, and where Margaret is really struggling to connect, for example, China and Cambodia. And in those regions, she's had to use different approaches. So how she's been doing that is collaboration with different Asia Pacific societies, like the APOA and the WAVES chapter thereof, as well as, because Margaret is a hand surgeon, she's had a lot to do with the Asia Pacific Federation of Society for Surgery of the Hand. She's been involved in regular webinars and symposium with diversified panels, and she's really been working hard in her area, as well as with her connection with CCOT, to make sure that the panels in webinars and symposiums in person alike are a diverse group. She's been involved in some meetings, and she's really made an effort to make sure that there are female chairs and that the panels are far more diverse than they have been in the future. And she's going to be a co-chairman in the Hong Kong Orthopedic Association Annual Congress. All right, I hand over to Marie for the European feedback.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the word. So the annual report from Europe last year has certainly been busy in Europe. I would definitely feel that the snowball has started rolling in Europe. And especially the IODA Charter has been a great way of approaching organizations and start the conversation about diversity. And after organizations then have signed the charter, it has been a great way to proceed the conversation and start talk about how do you then develop a strategic plan and continue the conversation. So I have myself had these Congress symposiums planned. So I attended the Italian meeting, CO meeting in November. They have just launched their national strategic plan. And we had a symposium at the NOF, the Nordic Orthopedic Federation meeting, the Danish meeting, and the Dutch meeting. And also last week, we had a symposium with the European Orthopedic Research Society that also has signed the charter. And this is from the NOF meeting, great attendance. They have just established a committee culture within their society that we are now collaborating with. Next slide, please. And this is from the Italian meeting where we had a great discussion, and also I have a close collaboration with the Women in Orthopedics Worldwide group in Italy that are working very hard on different things. Next slide, please. And the way I work is I more or less have this list of the 46 European countries, and all the green highlighted is those that has now signed the IODA Charter. And I would be very happy if anyone with good connections within the national society boards could maybe help me forward the invitation to sign the IODA Charter. And what I struggle with is definitely the barriers that in Europe we have also 46 different languages and cultures and educational systems, etc. Next slide, please. So I've developed this roadshow where I present the template that IODA has developed, how to practically work with designing a strategic plan. And it's been really well received. Next slide, please. So I'm trying to establish both a more informal meeting network. Especially, I've been working very closely with Namin Habib from the Swiss Female Orthopedic Association and Silvia Spinelli from the Italian RAUF group. And we want to establish a more formal European committee with also a strategic plan within Europe that we can work on together. So this is actually just an invitation to all of you listening. Please contact me and help us in this work. Everybody is welcome, and there's so much work we can do together also to make this more sustainable in the future. Yes.
Hello, everybody. I'm Gala Santini, and it's a pleasure for me to serve as a representative for Latin America and the Caribbean starting this year. The region currently has 119 members, and this year we held our first webinar on mentorship and academic leadership led from the region and delivered in Spanish. We have different languages, but I wanted to thank the board of directors for supporting this decision of having this webinar in Spanish, because it has allowed these ideas to reach a local audience that maybe is not that fluently in English. And it has allowed and it has encouraged more people to engage. Most importantly, we have representatives in that webinar from 6 countries, from associations of six countries, discussing how formal mentorship programs from young specialists has been managed or in some cases not managed with their with their respective associations. Next, please. In March of 2024, we conducted a target survey in the 17 of the 33 countries that we have currently contact through their national associations. We received 9 responses from 9 countries. And interesting, only 30% of the respondents, for example, knew the number of female members or the minority groups represented between their own associations. And furthermore, only 20% of the associations have a committee dedicated to diversity-related issues. And only 1 country has a formal mentorship program specifically for minorities. Next, please. So far, we had 3 main associations from 3 countries that have signed the charter. And this month, an additional specialty association from Argentina joined, and bringing a total of 4 signatures out of our region from the 40 signed worldwide. And this is an area we are working a lot, and we have still much to be done. And since March, we have been sending formal invitation letters to the 17 countries we have engaged in formally, and we have been talking and making a network informally building more opportunities in order to achieve the contact with the boards of those associations. Next, please. During my travels to courses or conference this year in Chile and various regions of Argentina, where I have been invited, not only to speak about my own specialty topics, but also about diversity. And that was great because they give me the opportunity to promote mentorship and to promote IODA as part of the agenda, of their own agenda. And looking next, please. Looking ahead to 2024, this month ahead, I have been invited to speak in the national meeting in Paraguay and in Femecot in Mexico, that also Deborah and Matt are invited. And also in Argentina in November Day topics. And together with Valeria Lopez, that is the actual coordinator for the IODA mentorship program, and with Itzel Valladares for Femecot Mexico, we're building this kind of informal networking with female surgeons around Latin America and the Caribbean in order to network and start to these initiatives being held in most of the countries.
Hi, good day to all. Speaking about the Middle East, of course, we're the slowest of all in everything. So with the war and everything going on. So we're trying to collect the data about women orthopedics, and societies are resisting to give us any data about that. So what we're doing is social networking. So we're collecting data from Facebook and from word of mouth. So whenever I get someone from that area, I'll ask about other diversity in that specific region. So for the next slide, these are the members, and the ones in red are the areas where they show an improvement of the number of women orthopedics in the past year. And the other countries are still not responding with the poor data getting from there. Next slide, please. I always like to put this slide just to remember the pioneers in all the countries who started since '98 as women orthopedics, and we're still having low numbers for females in orthopedics. Next slide shows that the activity that we had done was in Thiart last year in Cairo, Egypt, with the help of Margaret and Patricia Fuchs, of course. Their influence was very important. The meeting was for an hour, and the former Minister of Health of Egypt and the head of Egyptian society attended. They were highly supportive of women orthopedics, and yet they refused to sign the charter. They think that it is a given and they don't need to commit to that. Patricia, of course, who's attending, was there. I spoke about female in the MENA areas. And the next slide, please. Of course, I can't speak about Patricia. She's the first female in almost everything in South America. And she was speaking about her experience as the first female National Society president. Nariman was in the picture, and the next slide shows that she was talking about her personal experience about being an academic, surgeon, and a mother. And she influenced a lot of attendees about how to try and balance these three things. Next slide, Dr. Soufiane Qallal, in the slide, he is from the Tunisian Society, and he's a very important ally. And he was speaking about allies in the Middle East and how important that is. And again, although everybody is supportive, but no one is agreeing to sign a charter. Dr. Vikas, he was the next chairman for the CICOT area, and he was talking about how to help change, and he promised that he will have a full committee for diversity in the next meeting. And lastly, Dr. Gamal Husni from Egypt, he was talking about the role of change of culture in orthopedic society. He was the head of the CICOT from the Middle East in that area. And he was speaking from the Pharaoh's time till now, and how females are important roles, have important role in not only society, but also in surgery, and how to do change. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Holly Wilson. I'm the new North America Regional Representative. I'd like to thank Lorraine Bokai, who passed the torch to me earlier in the spring, early summer. And so it's my pleasure to help IODA in our mission in the North American region. Most recently in North American region, we were able to sponsor a virtual journal club that was held last month in August, that featured 3 articles on the topic of disparities in healthcare in the United States. We were able to have Dr. Boris Zell, who was actually the lead author on all 3 articles and has been a previous Diversity Award winner for the Academy, as well as a Humanitarian Award winner. We also had 3 residents presenting the articles as well. It was very well attended, and we look forward to having future journal clubs this year and next year. We are all going to be applying for the JBJS grant support, which normally supports resident journal clubs, but also may support ours as well. So we look forward to being able to get support for future journal clubs in the North American region. Next slide, please. As was mentioned, since last year, Lorraine worked very hard to increase the number of North American-based signatories in the IODA Charter. So since last year, we were able to add the American Orthopedic Foot and Ankle Society, the Medical Student Orthopedic Society, Ruth Jackson Orthopedic Society, and Speak Up Ortho. And then for this upcoming year, my plan is to strategically target these 3 organizations: the Orthopedic Trauma Association, through my experience and networks as an orthopedic trauma surgeon, the J. Robert Gladden Orthopedic Society, which I'm a member of as well as the Black Women Orthopedic Surgeons Society. So that is the plan for expansion of North American-based signatories within the year. Next slide, please. As was already mentioned by Matt, we were happy to begin a 3-year partnership this past year at the annual AOS meeting with the Diversity Advisory Board. And this 3-year partnership involves a breakfast that was held this past year and this upcoming year as well. And then the 3rd year will involve a luncheon to really increase exposure and promotion of IODA within the Academy. And it's very well attended. As was previously mentioned by Matt, the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgery Presidential Line is in attendance, as well as the Diversity Advisory Board, and we also open it to other membership of the Academy. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Andrew Ryans from Sydney, Australia, to present the financial report for IODA. Next slide, please. So it's good news with regards to finances, particularly given where we were a couple of years ago. So in the calendar year from 1 July 2023 to 30 June 2024, we were fortunate to have 1 platinum, 1 gold and 1 bronze sponsorship. So that gave us an income of $85,000. We've also had some modest contributions from members as well. The expenses over the financial year come in at around about $40,000. By far the largest of those is to pay Talissa for the fantastic work that she does for IODA. The other $5,000 or so is largely made up of communication expenses, things like Zoom subscriptions and website development and those type of things. So looking at the income versus expenses for the 12 years, for the 12 months, we can see that we're about $45,000 in front, which is a tremendous effort. So next slide, thanks. So the bank balance as of June 30, 2024 was over $110,000. So we've been able to, I think, over the last few years, to get IODA into a sound financial position, enabling us to continue to champion diversity, equity, and inclusion in orthopedics worldwide. Thank you.
Well, hello, everyone. The mentorship committee has been working around 2 main aspects. We have already launched a survey that will gather input into creating a customized multilingual and digital mentorship program that will foster many kinds of mentorship, not only the traditional mentorship roles, but reverse, peer-to-peer, near-peer, and some other modalities. For that particular, we're partnering with Pushfar, which is a cloud-based platform that will offer access and will help us launch and manage and set the mentorship program. Next slide, please. And we have also partnered with the Educational Committee of CICOD to co-batch a webinar that will be held in October 18 on this particular subject, minding the mentorship gap. The idea of this session is that experts on the field will discuss the transformative impact of mentorship, the importance of diversity, and some strategies to build successful mentorship programs.
Thank you very much, and hello, everyone. I'm Samantha Tross. I'm the Secretary for IODA, and today I'd like to talk to you primarily about the newsletter, which is my primary role, but also to highlight to you the resources of IODA. So our newsletter is a quarterly publication, and it features articles. There's from the presidential line in rotation, the secretary writes a little article. Then we have the membership committee, the regional representatives give feedback, and various committees in rotation. The key highlight, though, are the articles, which are generally invited articles from yourselves or orthopedic community, so that we can really highlight the great work that you're doing and also inspire others in their diversity efforts. Now, the publications come out January, February, May, June, and September, October. And we try to have a deadline some months before in order for us to prepare. And we're going to look at how we can best highlight that to you in future. Next slide, please. In terms of our resources, we have a great resource on the IODA website. It comprises the newsletters that are the current and also all the past newsletters for you to see if you haven't had a chance to see that. Diversity strategies from different orthopedic associations, currently American, British, and Canadian. Our library is really extensive, with a lot of diversity articles, which have been subdivided into different groups, which makes it easy for you to access, such as training, leadership, gender articles, LGBTQ, etc. So really, really makes it easy for you to access. We have our various videos and podcasts, webinars, etc. as well for you to see. And there is a Meet a Member form on there, which we encourage you to really fill out so that we can see who our members are and introduce yourselves to the wider orthopedic community. As Matt also mentioned, we have on there the QR code, so that you can include that in your webinars and presentations in the future. But importantly, IODA is here to serve you, the orthopedic community, and we want to know that we want to keep you engaged, and we want to know that we're serving you well. So if there are any suggestions for improvements or additional things you'd like to see in the newsletter, I welcome you to please feedback. You can write to me with these suggestions and also your articles at secretary@orthopedicdiversity.org. Thank you very much.
So our social media networks are vital to the work we do. We have such an international and diverse community. It's impossible to communicate with everyone without the power that social media gives us, and it allows us to leverage and advocate in a way that without it we just wouldn't be able to do the work. We are extremely lucky to have an extremely engaged and extremely inclusive social media committee. And so this year we've had a number of initiatives that we've tried to launch in an attempt to engage with more marginalized communities and to amplify the work that we and other organizations are doing. So for example, our Meet a Member initiative, it's about highlighting who we are as an organization, and not necessarily just the executive, but who our members are, what they look like. More recently, we've been doing more innovative and novel content. And a big part of diversifying orthopedics is breaking down some of those stereotypes and humanizing us as a specialty. So things like, what do you listen to in the operating theatre? We also do regular regional content. And again, for that, we're extremely grateful to our regional reps for sharing with us things that are going on in their region, things that are going on in their communities. We amplify both our newsletter and also the work of other organizations and partner organizations, as we feel that a big part of our allyship is actually pointing people to some of the people out there who are doing amazing work, and there's just no point reinventing the wheel if they are. And I guess my big ask is that if you have things you want to share, things you want amplified, things that you just wish thousands of other people would see around the world, please do send it our way. And again, our contact details have been up throughout the presentation, but you can also use our social media networks to send it to me or our comms team, and we'll be happy to work with you on that. Next slide.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to chat about future plans, a lot of which you've already heard. But in December of this year, it will be our next strategic planning meeting. And we're going to be very lucky to have Dino Damalis, who is the CFO from the American Academy, that will be helping us tailor make our strategic plan, probably refining and fine-tuning what we've already sort of pointed out as items that we want to highlight. The charter, as we've spoken about, is growing engagement and global discussion. As we go on into 2025, our speaker list is really taking shape. As Valeria mentioned, the mentorship program with PushFar is coming together in its planning phases. We've got for the rest of this year, or the remainder of the year, the CCOT and the FEMICOT symposium that we're running. And of course, we're going to continue collaborating with all our associations across the world to promote diversity, inclusion, and equity. We're going to continue with our resource development and making sure that our website is really a one-stop shop for you to come and look for diversity in orthopedic content, as well as continue with our very popular Journal Club webinars. Okay, so we've reached the end of our presentation with I think, pretty good time. We've got probably about 10 minutes for any questions. I'm going to stop this share so that I can actually be able to sort of see everything, and then hopefully Talissa will be able to see if there's any questions or comments that we need to address. So Talissa, is there like a Q&A box for members to?
That's right, Marie. There's a Q&A box, a Q&A button down the bottom there. We've had a couple of questions throughout, or comments throughout the webinar that I can see the board have answered. We don't have any open at the moment.
Deborah?
Yeah, I was just going to say, that on the question and answer, it was nice to see there was a doctor from Sudan who had expressed an interest in joining, and Dalal's in touch with him already. Him or her, that's a very naughty thing to have fallen into that trap, isn't it, on diversity forum. But it is really nice that we are beginning to make these contacts with far-flung corners of the world, and I think we just need to take every opportunity. Every time someone reaches out, we just must make sure that we follow up on it, because it's always very easy to be too busy to follow up, and actually we must resist that.
Definitely. Seems like there's no other movement.
Well, if there's no other questions, I wanted to thank Marie for her leadership over the last year. It's been fantastic working with you. And so thank you, Marie, for everything that you've done as president of IODA over the last calendar year.
Thanks, Matt. I'm looking forward to you. I'm looking forward to your year and what you'll be able to accomplish.
Excited. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I think if there's no other questions, I'd like to formally close our annual meeting for 2024, and thank everyone who joined us and listened to our feedback. And please, as we've said, reach out if there's anything that you'd like to contribute, or you would like us to share, or if you've got any suggestions. We are here to serve the orthopedic community internationally, and it's obviously very difficult for us to always see our blind spots. So please feel free to point them out and help us improve diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as belonging in orthopedics.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you, everyone.